a pocket shot by the now-defunct Goal Publications. Signal came across my field of interest when Pascal Farfel from my writing group mentioned having picked it up, and he also happened to mention that it was post-apocalyptic furry fiction, which is kind of my thing, so of course I had to read it. Contacting the author directly through her journal, I was able to purchase a physical copy, signed and personalized. I've read her work before, and I really had nothing but positive things to say about the 2 books of hers that I've read, so I had high expectations going into this one. Set in a post-apocalyptic future, Signal is based long after the disappearance of humanity. Taking their place are several animal societies that have risen to intelligence while still largely retaining their animal forms. The story takes place among a Rakuun tribe and follows Jack's journey as he seeks answers to questions he cannot ignore. Jack is a peculiar raccoon. Unlike most of his kind who seek to move beyond childish curiosity and contribute to the tribe's survival by finding a mate and siring kits, he cannot help but be fascinated by the things he finds in his explorations. Curious and adventurous, he sets out to discover the secrets behind his latest treasure. I have to say that I really liked Jack. Curious to the point of an irresistible need to know, he pursues the knowledge of the past like a raccoon with a mission. Sacrificing the things he's supposed to want for the sake of his curiosity, he finds himself consumed by the desire for answers. I certainly appreciated his brave and curious nature and couldn't help but sympathize, as one of the most interesting aspects of post-apocalyptic fiction is always the question of how did we get to here? Jack is not like the other raccoon. One day he discovers a long-abandoned cell phone. Despite warning from the other members of the tribe to ignore it and focus on supporting the group, Jack cannot suppress the memories of the world long gone that rise unbidden from somewhere outside his awareness. Left with no choice but to track down the only being that could possibly give him answers, he is forced to leave behind everything he knows and wander the world in search of the truth. Although I've heard of it before, it wasn't until Pascal from my writing group gave it a recommendation that I decided to indulge my own curiosity and finally read this title. Stirred by the folding of Gold Publications, I wanted to read it while it was still reasonably possible to get a copy, so I contacted the author, Renee Carter Hall, and purchased one directly from her. As you know, if you know me, you know that I'm a big fan of post-apocalyptic fiction. Ever since playing Fallout 3, I just particularly have been fascinated by the genre of writing that explores what happens after the world as we know it collapses. Already hooked by the concept, I set about reading the story of Jack and the mysterious device called a phone. While I really enjoyed the first half of the story, I have to say that I found the second half to be more of a downer for me. Early on, Jack is curious about those that came before, and try as he might, he is unable to refuse the call for answers to his questions. His search, while initially gaining him fame and attention, eventually isolates him from everyone and everything he has ever known. To learn more about these things he sees, he travels to speak to Washer, who once knew a creature who had seen the same visions, and goes off to find his answers. While I don't fault the quality of the writing, I found it hard to read this book the further along that I got. I don't know what I expected, perhaps an answer to the mystery or for Jack to find something at the end, and while he does, it ends on what I'd call a soft cliffhanger. It teases the possibility of a follow-up, but honestly, the journey just kind of left me a little disappointed. Post-apocalyptic fiction is usually one of my all-time favorite genres and settings, not only for the curiosity of what happened, but the storytelling options the setting provides and the fascination of seeing what happens afterwards. What would I have preferred? I think I would have enjoyed it more if perhaps Jack had a companion, or perhaps there had not been so many characters who appeared, said their piece, and that was it. It reminded me a little bit of when I read By Sword and Star, in which I kind of wanted a supporting character to have more of a role than they did. Would I recommend it? Honestly, I'm not sure. While all of Renee Carter's books have strong concepts, this one, while I'm glad to have read it, left me with a lot of mixed feelings. If you like werewolves, check out my book Blue Moon, available in paperback and ebook on Amazon. Thanks for watching, and if you liked it, click the subscribe button and leave a comment below. You can also find me on Twitter and a few other places on the web, or support me via Patreon or Ko-fi. Zebra hugs!